10 seconds up, and it will just take 10 seconds to start. Yeah, I don't make people wait for no reason. Pomodoro start. Yeah. Oh no. What's up, nigga? What's up, mate? What's up, bro? Let me grab some water. About water. About water. About water. Alright. Oh no. About what? Had the sip of water. Start, my friend. Start in the name of God. No one. Anyone. What? Yeah. Okay. Now we start. Grid auto. I have to revise it. I know that. Grid auto row and grid auto columns. CSS grid provides two properties to specify the size of grid tracks added implicitly. Grid auto rows and grid auto columns. These properties are declared on grid containers. I'ma do it calmly. No rush, brother. No rush. No rush. When you rush, it's not rush hour. The calmer you are, the better you think. The calmer you are, better you think. Why did I get my why did I got the numbered glasses? I don't like it. I had eagle vision. I don't like it, mate. I don't like it. Why did God did this to me? I don't know. I don't know. God put shame to the people who gave me, who tried to defame me in my family and in my city, like in my native city and my real family and in my immediate family. I don't forget. I don't forgive this kind of people. I don't forget. I don't forget and forgive this type of uh, bad things. This type of deeds I don't forget. And I hope Almighty God will not also. I mean, I just hope Almighty God give me guidance and also to my enemies. I don't know what can I pray for more than that. Crazy people, selfish people. They don't think, they just do. They don't know about me. Why would they talk about me if you don't know about me? I mean, I'm talking about IRL in real life, in my family, my immediate family, my relatives. It's not good. The things I know, they are not professionals, are they? They don't even know what I did and what I did not. Narrow vision, not much knowledge. That's not my fault, is it? No patience, no small hurts. Okay, I'm gonna watch the video first so that I can revise faster. Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time. What? No, 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 no. This can't be happening. Is it the old one? Is it the old one or is it the remastered?
But I'm still gonna try and run it anyway. I can't really get around it.
Oh my god, it's the old one.
Fast forward.
I thought they
I'm
launched
gonna
the
give it a
new
shot
one.
anyway. I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
This guy playing on the
one of my
pause.
favorite
Okay,
games,
I'm gonna
Prince of
wall run
Persia.
and then leap, eject backwards. There were a few times in the game when it, in the franchise of Prince of Persia,
Hmm.
where you could wall run, backwards leap, two swords out, spin around and stuff in the air, slow down time as you're hacking and slashing
Thanks,
with your
Brewer,
swords. Right, so
for
again, as I said, Sands of Time is the one that I've played the least.
yeah.
So Bobby Within and Teeth Thrones. I also have Bobby Within straight away downloaded. So I downloaded Bobby Within before I even thought to do this at the time. But let's try this. Right, so let's go. Wrong way. I need to push right.
Learning from YouTube is also a grind. First you have to choose the channel, first you have to search the channel, then you have to search for the correct YouTube video, not in too detail, not in too short. You need to find exactly what you want, and that's not in the title. Yeah, better you learn with me. Just kidding. I don't like this. Your voice. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Creating dynamic layouts that are just sort of adjusted to your screen size used to involve a lot of media queries and a lot of work and a lot of thought. And nowadays, with CSS Grid, it is just so easy. So in this video, we're going to be looking at exactly that and then building this layout out using CSS Grid.
I have 12 GB RAM. See it.
Hello, my front-end friends, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad that you've come to join me once again. And if you're new here, my name is Kevin, and here at my channel, I hope you fall madly, deeply in love with CSS. And if I can't make you fall in love with it, I'm hoping that I can at least help you be a little bit less frustrated with it. Today, I'm going to do that by exploring the wonders that are CSS Grid and just how easy it is to make dynamic layouts using it. We won't only be exploring Grid in this one. I'm going to build out the card elements that we're doing. We're going to be exploring things like aspect ratio and some other modern CSS techniques as well as we go through it. If you want to focus only on the CSS Grid parts and the more layout, I have put chapters to everything along the way, so you can look below and jump to the different sections you want. Or if you want to watch how I do this from start to finish, well, then you don't have to do anything because we're jumping into it right now, so let's go. Alright, so you can see here I have started with a little bit of stuff, and I forgot to put a title, Dynamic Grid Layout. There we go. But you can see I do have a little bit of stuff that is here. If you're new and you're using VS Code, you can get most of this just by putting an exclamation point, and you can see that says emit abbreviation, because when I hit tab, then we get a lot of that starting template-y stuff that is there. And the only other thing that I've done up until now is linked to the Google fonts I'm using, as well as my style sheet. And if you want to follow along with me and just sort of steal my head, I have put the link to the GitHub repo in the description just down below. And for my demo.css file that I have right here, I have done a little bit in here already where I've set up my font families as custom properties. I've also come through and added Andy Bell's modern CSS reset that's here, and I've done a little bit of styling. I've created a container and a little bit of styling on my body. If you want to get Andy Bell's reset, once again, the link is down in the description below. And what we'll be doing here is let's start by using that container. And I'm going to build out one card just for now so we can
I'll be back in a minute. Maybe 5 minutes. I'm back. I am back. Ding 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 ding. Da-da-da. 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 Yeah. Gonna be funny? No. No, I like Terminator 2. All is cool. Yeah, all is cool. Okay, I'm back. I have to put it, mate. I have to put it. Not even if no one is here. If someone is watching my board, if then it's better for them.
Follow along with the structure that I have for it, but knowing and understanding the structure in our HTML is always pretty important. So in here, what we'll do is we'll do I'm going to build out one card just for now so we can follow along with the structure that I have for it, but knowing and understanding the structure in our HTML is always pretty important. So in here, what we'll do is we'll do a product grid like this. So I'm just going to put dot card, and this is using Emmet again. So just dot card, hit tab, and it comes out. If you want more, there's a linked video down below that explores Emmet a lot more. If you are in VS Code, Emmet comes pre-installed with it. You don't have to do anything. It should just work. If you're not using VS Code but using a different editor, there's always extensions you can grab that add Emmet to your editor to make life a lot easier. So here I have the individual card, and there's two things we're going to need in here. I'm going to do an image with a class of card _img for image. If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a big fan of the BEM naming convention. In here, I'm going to do an image with a class of card _img for image. If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a big fan of the BEM naming convention, but you also know that I'm sort of breaking away from it a little bit, but this is the type of case where I would still definitely be using it. I do also happen to already have some images here that I have, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 7, because we're going to have 7 cards, and I got all of these from Unsplash, so if you want, you can grab the same ones or your own images from Unsplash, or they are in the GitHub repo if you want the same ones that I have. One thing is they're not optimized at all. We're doing a quick demo. I'm not focused on that, so I didn't optimize the images. And we want to give these all alt text, so just really quickly, I'll do that. All right, so that's there. We can see my card there, or my image, I should say. And the next part in the card here that I'm going to have is a card content. And depending on the layout that you want to have is a card content. And depending on the layout that you want for your cards and different things you're doing, you might not need this. Sometimes you can just have a card, you put your image, and then you have your heading and your other stuff that's going to be in there. But in this case, I'm going to add a card content because of how I'm going to organize this, and we'll see more of that in the CSS when we get there. So if you're, and I think it'll make a bit of sense once we get there. So here I'm going to do an H2 with a class of card title. And this case is one of those areas where you might not need specific styling for card titles. You might have utility classes you could use or other things. I'm going to stick with this for now, but if you have other classes you could use, you know, you don't necessarily need a card title just because it's the title of your card. It could just be a regular one, or it could be a...
Imagine conducting every part of your research.
I don't want to
only on one
imagine.
platform. You
Sorry,
need
brother.
Orion.
You know, it could be a more reusable class than a card title, but we're doing a simple demo here, so I think this is the most straightforward way to do it. So we'll have a card title, plus we're going to have a paragraph, which is going to be my card price, plus we're going to have a paragraph that is my card description. And let's just hit tab on that, and there we go. That, which is going to be my card. So we'll have a card title, plus we're going to have a paragraph, which is going to be my card price, plus we're going to have a paragraph that is my card description. And let's just hit tab on that, and there we go. That description. selection. And let's just hit tab on that, and there we go. That is the basic structure that I'll be using for the cards in here. And so now what I'm
Hmm.
going to do is just quickly set up the other 7 cards, add some filler content to all of these, and then we'll start working on our CSS. Alright, so let's go and look, and you can see all of these are in place, and everything is looking alright. We have some fonts and stuff already set up, which is fun, but nothing too fancy going on. And what we're going to do now is actually start styling all of this up. So the very first thing we want is to select that product grid that we created, and we want to throw a display of grid on there. And let's just do that. And of course, when you do that, it's always a bit disappointing compared to Flexbox, where Flexbox stuff happens. Grid, nothing happens at first, so we want to come in and do our grid template columns. And for now, we're going to change this. So I'm just going to set up 3 columns with 1 FR like that. And if you're new to grid and you've never really used grid before, I think you could still follow along with this one, but if you'd like more in-depth information on it or how to get started with grid the simplest way possible, I've already looked at that and sort of explored things like this, so there's a card popping up or the link down in the description. But if you want to keep on trucking with this one, see how cool this is, and then go check the simplest way possible, I've already looked and you've never really used grid before, I think you could still follow along with this one, but if you'd like more in-depth information on it or how to get started with grid the simplest way possible, I've already looked at that and sort of explored things like this, so there's a card popping up or the link down in the description. But if you want to keep on trucking with this one, see how cool this is, and then go check that out after, I'll remind you near the end of this one about that other video. And so now we can actually sort of see a little bit more of what we're doing and how things are going to be going. And if we look at it, there's a few good things and a few bad things. One of the good things is everything is sort of laid out in a grid, which is nice. But right now the images are all different sizes, which sort of sucks. Some are landscape, some are portrait. The portrait ones even, some are taller, some are shorter. Which is not ideal. The overall layout, it's just not fantastic. So we're going to start by focusing and fixing up just the general styling of the card itself. And then from there, we're going to move into and actually get the grid to be a bit more dynamic. So like I said at the beginning, if you want to skip forward a little bit and just get the dynamic grid part of it, just check the chapters down below and you can jump to that part. But there's a lot of good things we're going to be looking at with aspect ratios and other cool stuff here, I think, that are going to make it really come together and work really well. So let's come and start by doing that and say we're going to do let's choose our card itself. And just so we can visualize what's happening, I'm going to put a 3 pixel solid and we'll do a hot pink, which, there we go. And we get these borders that show up just so we can visualize what's happening. And one thing with grid is even if a card has less content in it compared to one of its siblings, it will stretch to fit, a lot like with Flexbox, right? The height of things will grow automatically. One thing with grid is, and we get these borders that show up just so we can visualize what's happening. And one thing with grid is even if a card has less content in it compared to one of its siblings, it will stretch to fit, a lot like with Flexbox, right? The height of things will grow. And one thing with grid is even if a card has less content in it compared to one of its siblings, it will stretch to fit, a lot like with Flexbox, right? The height of things will grow automatically. So we can look at how we're going to fix that, but we're going to do it in a second. The other thing is I do want some overlapping content here, and I do want to control these images a little bit more as well. So the first thing, let's start with those images, actually. And so we're going to choose my card img, which is my card image. And what we want to do is we want to use this new property, or newish, that is supported in all major browsers now, which is asking us to use card img, which is my card image, for those images, actually. And so we're going to choose my card img, which is my card image. And what we want to do is we want to use this new property, or newish, that is supported in all major browsers now, which is aspect ratio. But the thing with aspect ratio is it won't really do anything out of the box. So if I say 1 here, or we'll do 1/1, which means the width and the height should be the same. And
Check out the difference
No,
between
no,
this
no,
text
I don't want to check out.
and distillery.
No, 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 no.
Let me
I'm going to hit save and nothing is going to happen. And that's a little bit disappointing. Sometimes you're going to do this and it's going to work, and other times it won't. But what's happening is right now my images don't have a width or height on them. In that reset that I have set up, one of the most important things in here is, let's find it, here we go. My image and picture have a max width of 100%, which is really good for just making our images responsive, because if we didn't have that, you can see that my images are actually just going to be super big and overflowing and just ruin the entire layout. So that is one of those things for responsive layouts that we always want to have. But in this case, with images, if we want to use aspect ratio, they actually need a width on them. So we could say width of, let's just put 100 pixels for now to see the magic happen. You can see they're all squares now. But that's not what we want, because, we want this to be dynamic, to grow, to shrink. So as long as we have a width, we can have a width, and we just want that to be, you gotta hit the right key, 100%. And now the width is 100%. And the height will match, it won't be 100%, it'll be whatever that width is. And now you can see they're all squares. And if we make this bigger or smaller, they're going to grow and they're going to shrink based on that space that they have available to them. They maintain and they keep being perfect squares. So that's a good thing, but of course we broke something along the way here, and now all my images are either being squished or pulled or smushed or whatever, one way or the other, and they don't look good. They're being distorted. But another cool thing, and if we use aspect ratio, I like doing this with my images, is an object fit cover, which if you don't know about is a lot like background size of cover, where it will prevent the images from being stretched. It just means they're going to be cropped. And so you'll lose a little bit of your image. The default is center, so we'll always focus on the middle. You can change that behavior as well. And if you'd like a bit more information, I have covered object fit in the past, so once again, card or link in the description. The nice thing with this is you can bring in dynamic content. You don't have to worry about what image you're bringing in. As we saw here, some were landscape, some are portrait, and it's going to work and crop them. You still want to optimize your images and not bring in these massive images like I have right now, so that would be a story for another day. But optimizing your images is still important, but it's nice that you could bring in images and not have to crop every image to be a square to use them as a square, and then you could reuse them in other places with their normal dimensions and stuff. But let's keep on going with this one. So the next thing I want to do is actually stack my content on top of each other a little bit. And I could do this directly on the card itself, but I think more of a utility class could be useful, and I'm going to call it stacked. And stacked is going to have a display of grid on it. The reason I like a utility class for this is, well, in this situation, we're working in one very specific imaginary world where we only have a product grid, but you'd probably be using this on a larger site, and maybe you'd want to use this on a card, but maybe you'd also want to use this on your hero area, or you might want to use it on a call to action, or you might want to use the same thing in multiple areas. So this stacked class could be useful. And let's go to my HTML and add it. So there's a really fast way to do that because I want it on all of my cards. So let's come up to the first card. This is in VS Code. I can push just put my cursor anywhere here and push Control D, and it's going to select that one, and then I can just keep pushing it. So let's come up to the first card. A really fast way to do that because I want it on all of my cards. So let's come up to the first card. This is in VS Code. I can just put my cursor anywhere here and push Control D. And it's going to select that one, and then I can just keep pushing it, and it should keep going through and just selecting all the way to do that because I want it on all of my cards. So let's come up to the first card. This is in VS Code. I can just put my cursor anywhere here and push Control D, and it's going to select that one, and then I can just keep pushing it, and it should keep going through and just selecting all the cards until I have all of them selected. So every time you do Control D, it will select the next one that matches that selection. And now it's selected the word card itself, so I actually have to rewrite card, and then I'm going to put a space and write stacked. So we add that stacked class on there, and I'm going to hit save, and it does nothing, because we just added a display of grid, and display of grid by itself doesn't do very much. So what's the point of this? Well, the class on there, and I'm going to hit save, and it does nothing, because we just added a display of grid, and display of grid by itself doesn't do very much. So what's the point of this? Well, this is where we can come in and say stacked and select any direct child that is inside of there. So in this case, it's going to select my image and that card content. And that's why I wanted to group the card content as one element instead of having it as multiple ones, because this is going to place stuff on there. So in this case, it's going to select my image and that card content. And that's why I wanted to group the card content as one element instead of having it as multiple ones, because this is going to place stuff on top of each other. So if I had like an H2, a paragraph just floating around, they'd actually overlap, and that would not be good. And so here with this stacked class, we're going to say that it has a grid column of 1 over 2, which is the default, but we just want to make sure that everything's overlapping, so I'm going to be explicit with it. And a grid row of 1 over 2. And I'm going to hit save, and now you can see everything is overlapping because they're living in
grid column start, grid column end, grid column start, grid column end. Means first row, first column. Okay, there is only one row and one column.
in the same space. Another thing right now is it is working over 2. And I'm going to hit save, and now you can see everything is overlapping because they're living in the same space. Another thing right now is it is working because if I come here, my image is first, and then the content is after. If I had my image here and I actually had this after space. Another thing right now is it is working because if I come here, my image is first and then the content is after. If I had my image here and I actually had this after and I hit save, you'll see that it's hiding behind my image because the image comes second, so the stacking is. You'll see that it's hiding behind my image because the image comes second, so and I hit save. You'll see that it's hiding. If I had my thing, because if I come here, my image is first and then the content is after. If I had my image here and I actually had this after and I hit save, you'll see that it's hiding behind my image because the image comes second, so the stacking is on top of it. But a nice thing with grid is, let's just do my card content. You could do a Z index on here of 10, and it's going to pull it up. You don't need a positioning or anything like that. When you're using CSS Grid, Z index just works within it. So Grid is just so fantastic at overlapping content. It's crazy. I'm not going to do that necessarily, but it could be, depending on how your markup is and how things work, just a nice little quick win there that you could use to avoid that. And now is where we get into a bit more of the fun and games of styling this card, because
I'm just lazy. What is actually happening is your brain is protecting you from perceived threats.
I didn't know that.
What is actually happening is your subconscious mind is running on survival mode. I'm not smart enough. What is actually happening is you have limiting beliefs from childhood experiences.
No, my childhood was great. I was the top
What is
in class
actually
all the
happening
time.
is your identity is programmed for your current reality. Myth number one, you are thinking, I'm just lazy.
Thank
and
you.
That is why I can't achieve my goals. The fact is that your brain is protecting you from perceived threats. Every time you try
Megha.
to take action, your subconscious
Thank you,
sees
Sharma
it
ji.
as danger.
I don't want it to be exactly like this. And actually, let's do one more thing. Let's come on my card content itself, and because some of it will show up on top of content itself, and because some of it will show up on top of images, so I will give these a background that is white, just so we can see. Now the problem is they're stretching, they're filling up the entire space, which is no good. So let's do an align self of end. And this is with grid, it's living within this grid cell, but it's stretching to fit. An align self end will mean it's going to go to the bottom of the cell that it's inside of. Cool. I'm also going to add a little bit of margin here. So I'm going to do a margin. The top doesn't really matter, so let's just do a 0.5 rem on all sides for now. So you can just see it leaves a little bit of the space on grid space, which is no how things work. Just a nice little quick win there that you could use to avoid that. And now is where we get into a bit more of the fun and games of styling this card, because I don't want it to be exactly like this. And actually, let's do one more thing. Let's come on my card content itself, and because some of it will show up on top of images, so I will give these a background that is white, just so we can see. Now the problem is they're stretching, they're filling up the entire space, which is no good. So let's do an align self of end, and this is with grid, it's living within this grid cell, but it's stretching to fit. An align self end will mean it's going to go to the bottom of the cell that it's inside of. Cool. I'm also going to add a little bit of margin here. So I'm going to do a margin. The top doesn't really matter, so let's just do a 0.5 rem on all sides for now. So you can just see it leaves a little bit of the space on the left and the right, and a little bit of padding on here will be useful too, 0.5 rem, just so the text isn't glued to the sides. So I think that looks a little bit nicer. But of course we don't want it covering like most of our image, because that's not very good. So this is why I put these original pink borders on here in the first place, is on these cards, we can come in and throw an aspect ratio on these guys. So aspect ratio, and I'm going to do a 1 over 1.5 and hit save. So that means they have to be 1.5. We saw before with the images that 1 over 1 means it's the width and height are the same. So now the width is 1, my height is 1.5, so it will be 1.5 times taller than it is wide, and look at that. So we've sort of set a height on these without actually setting a height on them. And at large screen sizes, again, we're going to make this more dynamic. It's going to make more sense. We're going to play with our fonts and other stuff. I am in Firefox right now, so I can do a Shift-Control-M and open up the responsive mode. If you're in Chrome, just open your DevTools first, and then you can use the same shortcut, as long as you're active in your DevTools. M and open up. I am in Firefox right now, so I can do a Shift-Control-M and open up the responsive mode. If you're in Chrome, just open your DevTools first, and then you can use the same shortcut, as long as you're active in your DevTools. Open your Control-M and open up the responsive mode. If you're in Chrome, just open your DevTools first, and then you can use the same shortcut, as long as you're active in your DevTools. And so here's where it gets useful, is at these smaller screen sizes, you can see that, we get where the text is actually going to overlap, and most of the time we're actually going to have these smaller sizes where it's going to be working. Now, stuff is breaking right now, but it's not responsive. We have problems anyway, so we're going to be fixing these as we make the grid more dynamic. But it's to get into these situations where the text is on top of the image. We want to make sure it's readable. It is a little bit weird that on the bottom it just nothing happens. So I think the best solution for that is, let's just move this back out of the way. On the card content, let's also add a box shadow. So box shadow, we'll do 0.25 rem, just so it's 0 is the offset this way, 0.25 rem is going to be the offset up and down. We'll do a pretty big blur, 1 rem, and I'm going to do an RGB of 000 over 0.1. And this is the new color syntax. It's just the fastest way to make transparent black.
So Vishal, everyone today is so conscious about healthy eating, like low fat, sugar free, gluten free. Market is full of these products. So do these really help?
See, the problem is marketing has completely hijacked the meaning of healthy. People think that if something says low fat or sugar free, it must be good. But if you turn the packet around and actually read the ingredients, you'll find chemicals, preservatives, and artificial sweeteners that your body doesn't even recognize. And the truth is, healthy doesn't always mean nutritious. Real food doesn't come in boxes, it goes from the soil, it rots in few days, and your body knows exactly how to digest it. So if you want to improve your energy, immunity, or digestion, start by eating real, nutritious food, and not that just a marketing gimmick and states it as healthy.
Absolutely true. But Vishal, how can people learn to understand what their body actually needs and make better food choices for themselves?
I actually teach this in my 3-hour Natural Healing System workshop. They can join in and learn how to read their body signals, understand nutrition the natural way, and fix their eating habits without dieting or restrictions. Because once you know what your body truly needs, you stop eating for taste or trends and start eating for healing.
Right.
Yeah, just eat the natural food, make your own food,
So that's the
bring it
slogan.
from the farmers,
एक धंधे को
buy it from
business
the
बनाने के लिए
You don't need an A on there, it still works. And let's get rid of that border so we can actually see what that looks like. And I think that's actually not terrible. The only issue that I'm sort of running into right now is that the cards are really, these descriptions are so far stuck down to the bottom. I'd like it if they were shifted up a little bit. And there's different ways we could achieve that through gaps, through other things. The nice thing now is we sort of have this cell that's set up that everything's living in. So I'm actually going to change my margin on here. I usually don't use margins in this way, but because of the aspect ratios we have on here that sort of lock out everything together, and I don't know if I'm going to bother with a gap on this or not, so I'm just going to come on the card content here itself. And so this is going to be 0.5 on the top, and the top really doesn't matter. It could even be a 0, but we'll do a 0.5 on the left and the right. And let's do a 2 rem on the bottom, which is just going to shift everything up by 2 rem and sort of create that distance here. And so it just means the card is still that size. It's just we're creating a space underneath. We're shifting those up a little bit within the card. And again, there's different ways I could do this, but I'm going to do it this way for now. And I think that just sort of solves a little bit of that problem there. And the cards are looking pretty good. I'm just going to do a little bit of quick styling on the typography here to make things look a little bit nicer. So let's choose our card title. And this font just happens to be really big and bulky and potentially could cause some problems. So I'm going to shrink the title down a little bit. Title to 1.25 rem. And it's not working because, of course, you can't have a font title, Kevin, a font size. There we go. Just a little bit smaller. Because it's such a bold font, it's going to grab the attention anyway. A line height with all cap text. The line height right now doesn't look good, so we'll do a 1.1. 1.1, I think will be perfect on there. And let's just give it a color too. Color of, we'll do fire brick, because why not? Just to have some color on there. I would normally use that, have some actual colors for your color scheme instead. And let's also just come on my card price, and let's give that a font size of 1.75 rem. Just to make it bigger, it's going to...
quick break. I'm back, bro. Dun, 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 dun.
Stand out versus this. But the interesting thing here is, even though the price is a bigger font size than the title still stands out more because it's bold, it's strong, it has a color on it, and it's still really easy to see the prices. So for me, I like that. And then these little mini descriptions after, they don't matter so much. So there we go. I'm pretty happy how the individual cards are working.
Mm-hmm. Notebook lm.google. It seems understand anything is your research and thinking partner ground information insurance bill with the latest Gemini models. Try notebook alarm the Apple research partner. Upload your sources, upload PDF website, YouTube or video or defaults. Google Docs and Google Slides and more. Notebook alarm summarize them and navigation connection between topic all powered by the latest version of Gemini multiple understanding capabilities. Instant insights, brief doc, study guide, timeline. See the source, not just the answer. Okay. What are the major themes of major themes? Okay. Confidence anyway. Yeah, response because another was clear. And for its work showing you the exact course from your sources. Listen and want to go. New audio features can turn your resources into engaging deep dive discussions with one click. How people are using notebook alarm power study, upload lecture recordings, textbook chapters, and research papers. Actionable to display complex and in simple terms, provide a real life example and reinforce your understanding about your own source material. How would I be creative with the help of AI? It's the AI thinking, not me. So I'm not creative. So you are not making us creative. You are making us dumb. Sorry to say that. Apologies. AI. This could be the next killer app in generative AI. It's possible that Notebook and podcast episode generation is touching a whole new area like product format fields center. ChatGPT, maybe I'm overacting. Oh, seriously? I don't understand you are separate to you as an individual that I thought for training unless you share feedback. You always put your cameras on and microphone on of our mobiles and everything we do on phones and laptop. You know everything. So how can you talk about privacy here? Big techs, all the big techs. Seriously? Okay, well, I know that. I'll remember. Get the app. Should I? I can use it. Our privacy is gone already. What can we do? I'll see it later. 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 See you later, alligator. Cracinator. Transform this to oh.
I mentioned I wasn't sure if we were going to put a gap. Because we do have space underneath, maybe it does actually make sense to have a little bit of a gap. So let's come on to my product grid, and let's just put a small one, maybe 0.25 rem, maybe even a 0.125 rem, just to create like a
advanced thing I want. Basic.
Serious dictation was driving me crazy, so I switched to Whisper Flow. Here's why I'll never go back. First off,
I'm going to do an image with
I
a
want to
class
use my typing speed. I can't do that. I'm sorry.
using it. We won't only be exploring grid in this one. I'm going to build out the card element that we're doing. We're going to be exploring things like aspect ratio and some other modern CSS techniques as well as we go through it. If you want to focus only on the CSS grid parts and the more layout, I have put chapters to everything along the way, so you can look below and jump to the different sections you want. Or if you want to watch how I do this from start to finish, well, then you don't have to do anything because we're jumping into it right now, so let's go. Alright, so you can see here I have started with a little bit of stuff, and I forgot to put a title, Dynamic Grid Layout. There we go. But you can see I do have a little bit of stuff that is here. If you're new CSS Grid can seem like a bit of a monster when you first start learning it. It's just, there's a lot going on with it. There's all these new properties. There's template columns, template rows, template areas. There's line names, line numbers. CSS Grid, these new properties. There's template columns, template rows, template areas. There's line names, line numbers. There's new units. There's new values. There's new all sorts of stuff. And it just, it can seem overwhelming. Instead of getting
overwhelming, just revise it. Just revise it, mate.
Overwhelmed by all of that stuff. This video is all about simplifying grid as much as possible so you can start creating layouts with it with confidence.
Okay,
hello,
Kevin
my friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kevin, and here on my channel, it's all about learning how to embrace the cascade and fall in love with CSS, and if not fall in love with it, at least be a little bit less frustrated by it. Whenever we're learning something new, I'm a big advocate of doing it in the way of like least resistance, or with the happy path, where instead of trying to dive headfirst into it, you learn just enough to get started with it, and to be able to make things start happening, and then you start adding the complexities to it. And for this reason, I've always told people they should learn Flexbox before they learn Grid. Flexbox is weird on its own, it has some strange behaviors, and it does take a little bit to understand. Heck, I have a 4-hour course that just dives into Flexbox, so it is a big topic, but I always found it easier to get started with.
I've completed Flex already, thank you, Mr. Kevin Powell.
Easier to get started with. You make a parent, you put some children in it, display Flex, you have columns, you're off and running. Then, once you're comfortable with that, then you can start adding in the complexities. There's just so much going on with Grid to really start using it that I saw it as the natural step to come after Flexbox. But recently, a community member over on my Discord, D1Mind, he challenged me on this idea a little bit, and it really got me thinking, what's the easiest way to get into Grid? So let's break Grid down, make it as simple as possible to start using, and see if that actually is easier than starting off with something like Flexbox. Alright, so here we are in CodePen. If you want, there is a link to this just down below, so you can check out the code there if you want to.
I don't want code.
I'm just focusing on this grid class that I have here, which has a couple of, or has 3 divs in here that give us these 3 guys right there, and the idea is
what should I do? Give me 2 minutes. The thing about YouTube learning is fast, but you have to focus a lot. But yeah, it's better. It's faster. You can rewind it, yeah. You have to watch it twice at least. You have to put the time in it. Yes, you have to. Time and attention. Okay, Pomodoro is completed already. The second Pomodoro it is. Interact. Yeah. Why would I start Pomodoro now? Pomodoro. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tobacco is launched from my palm. And landed in my mouth. Great, mission complete. Okay, Pomodoro is up already.
I want to make 3 columns, this grid area to be 3 columns. So maybe we could even call that grid 3 columns. Something like that's a bit more explicit in what we want to do with it. Now, this is what I like a little bit better with Flexbox, is if I did a display flex, it would make my columns for me. I don't have to really do anything else. But when we do a display of grid, at first, nothing actually happens. Or, things move a little bit because there's the whole collapse. Of grid, at first, nothing actually happens. Or, things move a little bit because there's the whole collapsing margin thing, which I'm not going to dive into right now. So we do that, and we end up with nothing really changing. And then we need to come in with grid template columns. And we need to declare our columns to get this to actually work. So here I could say that I need 3 columns, so I can do 33%, should be percent. Aha, we found it, 33% and 33%. And if I do that, I'm saying I need 3 columns that are all 33% in size. And there we go, we get 3 equal columns. We could even say that one of these is 50%, and then we have a 25 and a 25
column
after that.
rows
So
is
I have
equal
one
to
column is 50% and then 2 smaller ones there. So the one advantage right here over Flex is it makes it a lot easier to control if I need very specific sizes on things. Whereas Flex, it just sort of does its own thing, right? Now, one thing that would be nice is if this was just not a grid of 3 columns, but just a grid. And, or let's even change the name here just to columns. And it could be any number of columns. The idea is that it shouldn't matter how much content I have in here. So if I had 2 columns, I delete some content, I'd have 2. I don't actually want them to be smaller like this. I'd want them to be 50% each. Or if I change that to be 4 of them, then I want each one of them to be 25% each. And it would be nice if it would automatically adjust. And this is something that I always found Flexbox was better at. But there were some weird things that could happen. If you are playing with the code yourself, try switching this from a display flex, from a display grid to a display flex, and seeing that it doesn't maybe behave the way you'd expect it to. But I'm not going to dive into that. This video is really about grid, so I want to keep my focus there. But what we could do instead of using grid template columns here is we could say grid auto flow, and we could write column. And you'll notice that I automatically have columns here. So 1, 2, 3 columns just like that. And what's interesting now is if I delete one of these columns, now it's automatically going to be 2. This works a lot like what Flexbox would actually do. Or if I paste that one back in, but I also add another one, so we have 4 divs in here, they're automatically making 4. Like it's just working, and that's really awesome. So I could do something like this, and here we could change, we could just add a gap here of 1em. Gap, I think gap's a nice easy one to understand. And so here, my class of columns could be using grid, and I could be setting that, and we could even do this with a media query. Maybe this is by default, it's a row, so we get everything stacking, but then we could say add media, min width of say 45em, and then I could do a dot columns. The dot columns will have a grid auto flow of column instead. And I never thought of teaching grid auto flow at the beginning, but now that I played with this a little bit, like here, it's like that. This is, if you are used to Flexbox, is like changing the flex direction in a media query, and maybe, maybe that's a little bit small. Maybe this could be a 55 instead. So there it's working, and then it switches here, and then it switches back that way. And we could play around with our gap and all of that on our spacing to get something that's working at all of our different sizes. And once again, this is going to work perfectly fine no matter what we have and no matter how much content we have, which is always what I was sort of after with Flexbox. And in a way, by this being row or column here, the auto flow being here I'm going to have rows, and here I'm going to have columns, maybe this is actually easier to understand than it would be with Flexbox with the flex direction, because I'm explicitly saying I want my content to be rows or I want my content to be columns. And for me, this is actually really cool, it's easy to understand, and it's just sort of working. What do you think? Is this really easy? Is there something here that's tripping you up with how the grid syntax is working? Are you really understanding this? And if you do have experience with Flexbox already, is this easier or harder than it would be to do it with Flexbox? What makes more sense to you? Whatever it is, leave a comment down below and let me know. So if you like this and you think that grid is the way to go and that you'd like to start diving a little bit deeper into grid, I put a custom playlist right here for you, which is diving into some of the basics of grid and getting started with grids. You can dive into that if you'd like to keep on learning more about it. And with that, a really big thank you to both Zach and Randy, who are my supporters of Awesome over on Patreon, as well as all my other patrons for the monthly support. And of course, until next time, don't forget to make your part of the internet just a little bit more awesome.
Did I give up my email ID? I must see my YouTube videos for refreshment. I have to take a short break. This is my YouTube channel.
France are ahead here by what is still the only goal. Satisfaction there. The lead by no means decisive yet, but so far so good. 1-0. And that has put paid to that. Diogo Da. And he was quick to react. Spread out to the left. He's shifting through the gears here. Delivery from right there. Oh, the ball's up loose here. And he's quick to get it clear again. Facing up to his adversary, this is a formidable matchup. Well, they won't be deterred from trying again. They have a bit between their teeth now. And that was very necessary. Neither of these two want to come off second best. And that has left him in a heap. Griezmann. Well, talk about a real rude awakening. It's almost as if the defence saw nothing coming. They just didn't anticipate. On heels rather than toes. That is lovely. Finished with amazing expertise. Oh, that's a measured delight. The curling line was immaculate. They have what they wanted. The first breakthrough. Because of that first goal now, it's a great opportunity to make it one-way traffic and add to this lead. He's got away. Delivery from Mbappe. France are already ahead. The perfect start. Well, it's one thing planning it, Peter, but another executing it, and this is proving to be a rather fine execution. There's the hit! Away from immediate danger. Griezmann. Oh, that's a key interception. And if you have just joined us, still just one goal between them. And the score is 1-0. And it's Griezmann. Camavinga. Now it's Mbappe. Now can he find the finish? Ruben Diaz with the clearance. France clearly are looking formidable down that left-hand side, the current supply route. Mbappe clearly looking the key component now with the concentration on width. Really unconvincing right now. It has to start in defence, but the whole team needs a wake-up call. Oh, he's bustling through here. Well, that defending is unapologetically persistent. It's almost personal. And it had to be. Well, football is a simple game, complicated by footballers. Why doesn't he slip that to the right? That is a brilliant interception. That's going to go a long way. Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, and Dallo, Bernardo Silva. Oh, that was expansive and incisive, the type of move to please any coach. Diogo Dallo is very much the model of the modern-day fullback. He's picked his way for a big header. Gets rid in a hurry. And it's Griezmann. This is the time you need that pace. Just eases him off the ball. Gets his pass away. It's come through and he's had a quick look inside. And the cutback. Cleared without hesitation. That's going right the way across. Pinches it off him. And he's being shifted off it. And here's Benzema. And the shots! Just off target. Dembele did give it a fair old crack, and he'll be encouraged to... He's hit it long, but astray. Griezmann proves just a little bit too strong. Oh, the movement is slick, the speed is slippery. The defence, though, able to hold on this time. Well, you could see he was eager to get a shot away, but there was too much flesh and bone in his path. He is through here.
Great one. Great dribbling, Griezmann.
Oh, lovely feed, he is such a good mover.
Mm.
Cross is dropped, and that's a corner. This possibly the last play of the half. Straight header! Oh, nearly, but nearly is nothing. That's a little unfortunate. He had a lot of people worried then. Referee's had a look, and he's blown his whistle for half-time. Well, a very decent watch up to now, but just the one goal so far. It has been competitive and combative throughout. Would you review the first half? At least Peter not conceding another goal has kept them in this game, and they can up their response in the second half. France head in, having made the crucial breakthrough, and to that end there is a degree of satisfaction there. The lead by no means decisive yet, but so far so good. 1-0 at the break. And the game has already resumed here. France carrying a one-goal lead. Great defending, strong and determined. No, that's been intercepted. Forward it goes. Camavinga. He's got plenty of space out wide here. Delivery from Mbappe. Bernardo Silva. Stood up well to him there. Benzema. Griezmann looking understandably energised after his goal. Oh, now here's an interesting matchup. Well, the defence proved infallible then, but that won't be the last they'll see of him. And that's been won straight back. It's a decent chance to counter-attack. That's tiny. Vitinha. And they win it back again. Camavinga. Griezmann. France are ahead here by what is still the only goal.
Hmm. It's a breakover.
Was the technique. It's screen goal all the way. So that's two now without reply. Well, at 1-0 this time. Cristiano Ronaldo! Oh, fine stop from the keeper. I think he's done great there, both reading it and dealing with it.
It is an online event. You can only use one nation. You can only use players of a single nation. Here I choose France because of Antoine Griezmann and Karim Benzema, Angolo, Kante, Angolo, Mbappe, Mbappe, Kylian Mbappe, the Ninja Turtle.
France can now introduce the first of their substitutes. Well, this could be an indication that the team are setting themselves up for the counter-attack here, Peter, and he is very good at that type of thing. And it's Griezmann. He's playing through.
Griezmann again.
The execution was lacking. Forwards with intent. That has been cut short.
Wrong pass. Didn't see it.
Vitinha.
Great tackle.
It's breakaway time.
Save the ball, mate. Protect the ball.
France perhaps contemplating their next change here.
Protective dribbling. Safe dribbling. Do it. Nice one too.
Oh, that's fabulous. That is good. Super running, sharp movement. Came up against a defender.
Double touch, mate. Double touch. You don't know how to double touch? Yeah, I did not know that time. I knew, but I wasn't used to it.
Well, his fan support out wide. He's found a way through. Really has the confidence and skill to be able to hold the ball up like that until the support arrives a little sooner. And just maybe there he overdid it slightly and should have released it because the support was arriving quickly. He's beaten the offside trap.
I'm playing on keyboard. Yeah.
And they can counter here. Bernardo Silva. He's in here. Real chance. Loose ball now. There's a chase on to retrieve it. And the defence can get it clear. Rafael Leao. Can he get it through? And it's Griezmann. Excellent challenge there, uncompromising. Bernardo Silva. Passes coming off in quick succession here. Oh, facing up to his adversary. This is a formidable matchup. Cristiano Ronaldo. That is great defending, so alert. There's a beautiful simplicity about this contest. Willing running on one side, dogged defence on the other. And that's aimed into the middle. Bernardo Silva. Camavinga. And here's Griezmann. Not the most accurate pass.
Great pass, great pass. Goal.
Vitinha. He's gone forward.
Wrong
They've
pass.
got to be quick moving this ball.
Great pass.
Nicely weighted ball. He's
Great
found a way
run.
through. So that's it. It's all over. Perfect result, perfect outcome. A test passed with flying colours. What are your thoughts on today's game then, Jim?
Well, it's pretty clear that there was a solid game plan in place for what was a very high-pressure game. I think it shows great maturity on the part of the players, and it was, for me, well-deserved and well-earned.
Well, thanks to Jim alongside me, and as the fans make their way home, so must we. Good evening to you. Oh, good read. Well, that has changed the... Well, that has changed... He's picked his way through. Well, the movement is slick, the speed is slippery. The defence, though,
Hmm? This Messi, Ito, Pele, Carlos, Gullet, oh my god. Patrick Vieira, Thuram, Rickard, Carvalho, Philip Lam, catch it, catch. Okay, I'll take a break from the break. No, the break is over. I'll watch it later. I don't know what to do.
Welcome to Second Life, the cinematic.
I don't watch Second Life.
Because I enjoy this a lot better. One moment. Now, everybody's life is different. Everybody's situation is different. Not everybody can make that type of decision. I was lucky. I was able to make that decision, and it was completely worth it to me. So, um, but if you're a new developer or you have other responsibilities, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with wanting to make money too. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that because developers are some of the most highly paid people in the world, and it is okay to do the work to earn that. So I don't fault anybody for wanting that either. And honestly, I probably should be a little more aggressive because I don't want to work until the day I die either. I do want to be able to retire. So yeah, I mean, we all have to make decisions for what we can do or what we're willing to do or not do, right? Okay, I think that people probably aren't here for this type of thing. So, but I personally love this type of conversation. Hang in there. I personally think that you have a bright future. So, okay, so here's our new form, Scenic. And I only have one project. It's just called Portfolio. Any emails that get sent to this form are also going to be saved in FormSpray, but they're going to be emailed to me. So we'll go ahead and create this form. Now here.
Double follow pose. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll have a short nap. Drop a follow. Till then, my writing. It's gaming. Hmm. Okay, the quick break is over. I think I'll start the Pomodoro. Back. Break over. Yeah, break over sounds good. Break over. I wanna wait. Grid order rows and grid order columns. I've done this. And then there is CSS grid order templates, grid order rows, grid order columns. This properties are declared on grid containers. Grid order rows by the grid order rows specify the height of implicitly added grid rows. The grid order columns specify the width of implicitly added columns. Grid order row and grid order columns accept the same values as their specific counterparts. Grid template rows and grid template columns are pixels, percentages, fractions, and the repeat function. Okay, display grid repeat to 100px, repeat to what is this grid? This new, you shouldn't do that to me. In the example, there is a body which should be specify two column grid for the grid cells. The fifth div will be added to an explicit row that will be 50 pixels tall. Okay, grid auto 50px. Delete the height. Declaration from the main rule set. Okay, we have to delete the height of the container. For creating new rows, like implicit rows, not like exactly. Index.html, copy and paste the last two receipt cards to add two more receipt cards to the bottom of the page. Examine the height of the two new cards. What do we notice? Grid auto rows, grid auto rows, grid auto columns, grid auto row, grid auto column, grid auto row, grid auto column, grid auto row, grid auto column. Grid template. Why don't you use grid template only grid? You're using only grid. Why? Template columns with template rows. Grid auto flow. Grid auto flow. Grid auto flow. I just saw it in addition to the setting the dimension of implicitly added rows in column. Grid auto rows, grid auto column, grid auto row, grid auto column. Apologies. Grid auto rows, grid auto columns. There is S in the ending, it's plural. Grid auto rows, grid auto columns, implicit rows and columns. Grid auto flow. In addition to setting the dimension of implicitly added rows and columns, we can specify the order in which they are rendered. In addition to the setting the dimension of implicitly added rows and columns, we can specify the order in which they are rendered. Why it's not getting in my brain? Focus, bro. In addition to setting the dimension of the implicitly added rows and columns, we can specify the order in which they are rendered. Okay, order. Grid order flow specifies whether the new element should be added to rows or columns, and it is declared on grid container. Okay. Grid order flow accepts the values row column specifies the new element should fill rows from left to right, and where the new element should fill rows from left to right and create new rows when there are too many elements. Specify the new element should fill the columns from top to bottom and create new columns when there are too many elements. Okay. Specifies the new element should fill the column from top to bottom and create new columns when there are too many elements. Okay, dense. The keyword invokes an algorithm that attempts to fill holes earlier in the grid layout if smaller elements are added. Okay. Row column grid dense grid outer flow, grid outer flow, grid outer flow, grid outer flow, grid outer columns, grid outer rows, grid outer flow. You can pair row or column with dense like grid outer flow, row dense, grid outer flow, row column. Here is an example of using grid outer flow column with grid outer column property. Okay, there are part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay. There are 5 cards, 5 divs. Grid order rows, grid order columns. Okay, 45, 45, 65. Repeat, repeat to why this is why do you do this, bro? Why do you do this? Grid. This is repeative defines a grid layout using grid template rows, repeat to and grid template columns. It creates 2 rows each. Grid order column, grid template rows, grid template column. It is grid template in it. Isn't it grid template? Is not it grid template? The shorthand grid template. Oh, grid template column, grid template. Why are you using grid? Actually, both work. So who will tell me? Who will tell me, huh? Should I Google everything? It's not good. It's not good. I don't like it. Actually, both work. Grid or grid and grid template both standard shorthand, but they have slightly different grid template shorthand for only the explicit grid properties. Grid template rows, the template column, and grid template area. Grid are more powerful shorthand that includes everything in grid template plus the implicit grid properties like grid order rows, grid order columns, and grid order flow. Key difference when you use grid shorthand, its resets and previously defined as implicit grid back to the default 0 and order. Grid template does not touch the implicit settings. Comparison property shorthand for best use case. Grid template plus grid order. What's grid order now? You kidding me, bro? Grid out rows, grid out columns, grid out rows, grid out columns, grid out flow, grid out rows, grid out column, grid out flow. These shorthands are getting out of hands. These shorthands are getting out of hands. Why do you need shorthands? Just type one or two lines more. Why do you want to short everything? So that I could not remember it. So that I forgot the syntax. So that I forget the syntax. That's what you want. Tuna. I don't know. Define the entire grid viewer at once. Define just explicit structure layout. Grid template. Grid row, grid column. We are defining implicit rows and columns here. So why do we need here? We can use grid template here for sure. In a specific example, both properties would produce the exact same visual to the developer often use prefer simply because it shortens the type and ensures a clean slate by resetting implicit properties. Why do you want to reset implicit properties? Why? Would you like to see how you grid template is it within this shorthand to name your sections? Give me proper syntax of these grid shorthands. Close this. How long I've been studying? 2 hours. 1 hour was like break. Jeremy. Welcome, Jeremy. Welcome. Thanks for the follow, mate. Welcome. Sup, mate. I know you have followed already when I was offline, but I have to celebrate it online. That's why I did it. I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Jeremy 101. This defines the grid structure, container shorthands defined grid structure, row columns and how items behave when they don't fit perfectly. Grid template defines explicit grid only rows, columns, and named areas. Basic grid template 100 rows, columns with areas include row heights and column width, which oh my god, good template. Header 50px sidebar main 1fr 150px 1fr. I don't want areas with it. I only follow this basic one. Grid says everything. Explicit plus implicit grid in one go. It also reset implicit properties to the default. Basic grid 100px 1fr 1fr. These are rows. These are columns. I hope so. Oops. Yeah, rows, columns. Yes, 100px one row of 100px height and 2 columns of 50% width. Yeah, 1/2 width, 1/2 width. So there becomes 2 boxes in a row. Implicit control, grid order flow 50px. Grid order flow 50px, 1fr, 1fr. Rows are created automatically at 50px high as content is added. Rows are created automatically at 50px height as content is added. Order flow 50px. Okay. Order flow 50px. One of our these are columns. Okay. Gap formally grid gap. Search both row gap and column gap. So grid gap is now gap. Syntax gap 20 volt or gap 20 row column. Okay. Row gap, column gap, gap, row gap, column gap, gap, grid gap, row gap, column gap, grid gap. Item shorthands, and this is control where the single item is put inside the grid container. Why am I learning code? Why? Yeah, it's easy, no problem, but it's still it's not that easy. This is CS is easy. Okay, do grid and flex and this and that. We do compile. You see these shorthands. The shorthands are getting out of hand. Grid row combines grid row start, grid row end. Okay. Grid column start, grid column end. Syntax the start at row 2 and spans row 3 rows. The ultimate item shorthand for all 4 coordinates. Syntax grid area. Grid area. Row start. Yeah, grid area. Yes. Grid area. Grid area. The ultimate shorthand for all 4 coordinates. Grid area. Row start. Column start. Row and column. Yeah. That's what I wanted. Grid area. Grid row start. Grid row start. Column. Grid row start. Column row start. Grid row start. Column row start. Grid row and column row end is equal to grid area. What is grid template area then? Is the grid template area? No. Grid area. Place items, align item, justify item, place content, align content, justify content. So, okay. Okay. Grid area and template area. In short, group template area is used on the parent color to draw the map, while the grid area is used on the child item to name it and place it on that map. The template area is for the parent, grid area is for the child. The template area on the parent is a property defines all structure of the grid by providing a visual art map of the syntax. It uses a string for each row. Okay, I got this. I use a string for each row and space separated names for each column. It creates slots where items can go. Example, the template area. Yeah. I'm getting cleared. The template areas, it's on the container. The area on the child. This property has two distinct rows depending on how you use it. A row in naming, it gives a child element a name so it can go teleport into the matching slot defined in the parent's grid template area. Will be shorthand. It acts as a shorthand for the line based placement. Either start grid column, start grid and grid column and example naming a shorthand. Okay, naming header item grid area header. Okay, now here I was confused. It's also used for naming and also used as shorthand to place the item, grid area to place the item, the template area to create the map. Grid area header matches the header slot in the container. Yeah, that's great. Header sidebar name. It gives the naming row A naming. Key difference at a glance feature grid template area, grid area applied to grid container parent grid area, the grid item. Okay, purpose defines layout, the layout map. Assign an item to be named area or specific lines. Okay, value to be named area or specific lines. Grid area naming plus shorthand for placement. Values coded strings AB. Yeah, custom name GA or line numbers. Okay. Would like full code is to show them how we order these sections from the responsible are using these two. Property header sidebar. Alan Malik, thank you. It increases the whole confusion. It eliminates the whole grid template is for container grid template area is for the container grid area is for naming it or the shorthand for grid template column and grid template row. Grid template column, grid template rows, grid template row, grid template column, grid template row plus grid template column is equal to grid area. Also, this grid area is used for naming the sections described in the template area. How to import it? How to import it? This one. Can't I rename it, bro? I want to rename it. Grid auto flow column row. Okay. Okay. Display grid gap find grid repeat. Grid repeat is equal to grid template for implicit as well as explicit. Repeat 2. These are the rows. Repeat 2. 100 px, 2 rows of 100 px height and 2 columns of 150 px width, like 4 by 4. 1 2 3 4. Yeah. Grid auto rows 45. What? Grid auto column 65. Grid auto flow column. Okay. Grid auto flow column means they will add the columns. It is new items added. Yeah, like this. 45 65. This is 65. Oh my god. Grid auto columns. Grid auto columns. This is 65. Why, bro? Why? The grid item is added to columns mean this is the width the column. This should be grid row should be, oh my god, the fifth grid item is added to a new implicit column. The width of this implicit column is dictated by grid auto columns. Grid auto columns. Yeah, I'm making the item 65 px wide. Narrower than the other grid items. Note that with the grid auto flow column and new items will be added to the existing and explicitly defined row because of this. Note that the grid auto flow column. Grid auto flow column. Okay, grid auto flow column. Grid auto flow column. This one is important. Note that with grid auto column added to the grid. Note that with grid auto flow column added to the grid, new items will be added to the existing explicitly defined rows. Because of this, new items will have the same height as all the items within the explicit grid. 100 px as defined by the grid property. Okay. So what is the use of grid auto rows then? Grid auto flow column. Grid auto flow column, it will check the only use the column width. It will not use the grid auto rows because it is added to the column and it will take the width, the height of the row. What now? Oh my god, why do I forget it? Pomodoro start again. 1 2 3 4 5 Pomodoros. How did I complete 5 Pomodoros? Half 2.5 hours. I don't know how. Should I stop today or what? It's 2.6. Sure, it's taking 2 hours. Whether the grid auto flow column add to the grid new items will be added to the existing is defined because of these new items will have the same height as item property in install CSS inside the main rule set. Install CSS inside the main rule set, add the grid auto flow property and set its value to grid columns when more elements are added. Install CSS inside the main rule set. Inside the main rule set. Inside the main set, add grid auto flow, grid auto flow property and set its value to grid columns when more elements are added. Grid auto flow, grid auto flow. What will it do? Grid auto rows will create extra rows when additional items will be added later. It's called grid auto row. And grid auto flow, the new items, the implicit items will be added into column. So grid auto row and grid auto flow will put the items in the new column. So what is the use of grid auto flows then? Grid auto flow in addition, the order in which they are rendered. Grid auto flow explains whether the element should be added to rows or columns and is declared on grid containers. Okay. Grid auto flow accepts these values. A row specifies the new element should fill rows from left to right and create new rows when there are too many elements. Row, new rows, create new rows. Grid auto flow, create new rows. Grid auto flow, column, create new column. Yeah. I don't want dense keyword is involved in algorithm that attempts to fill holes only and the correct layout of single elements are added. No extent algorithm attempts to fill the holes earlier in the grid, fill the holes only if small ellipses are added. Okay. Grid auto flow works like that, and grid auto column. Grid auto row defines the width of the grid auto row defines the grid auto row defines the height of the implicit row, and grid auto column defines the implicit defines the width of the implicit column. Grid auto row, grid template row. Grid auto row is like grid template row. So grid and that's only one. Grid auto row defines the height of the implicit row, And grid order column defines the width of the implicit column. And grid auto flow defines that if it will be a new column or it will be a new row. Yeah. I hope you understood. I hope I understood. Column, where is column? Why is it not adding in the column? The row. Column. Why? Columns. Columns. Oh my god, what's happening? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Row. Row. With all the rows. Good order row. It should be in the row. And it plural, yeah, row. Row. Oh, it's not it the same. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, now I get it. Now I get it. 2 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Now it's a row. And if I add column, but there is no width of the column. So they will get the width of the column from the repeat stuff. Yeah, 20 px, okay. 250 px column will be there. Yeah. And you see there's some 1, 2. There's some gap. The wrong gap is there. The gap is not properly maintained. And why is that? Why there's no gap in the implicit and explicit rules? Why? Why, dumb kid? Why? Could get me. Why? Next. Okay, review. I know what's the review. I'll write it down. I will write it down. Should I give the test tomorrow or today? I don't know. I'll take a day. I think today was a good day. I studied good. I have studied good. I have studied good today. Should I go? Should I stay? I'll take a quick break. 2-point break. Thanks for the Okay. I see who is online. Long break. Long break. Break. 30 minutes. Yes. play some shots from the stream is ending. Still, I'll show some shots from my YouTube channel created by me, my gameplay at the rate 708 on YT YouTube. I hope you'll enjoy it. Some shots from the stream is ending. Still, I'll show some. Oh yes. From my YouTube channel. How can I? Created by me, my gameplay. Oh my god. Yeah, here's the short section. Oh.
It's Messi. Runs down the right. Look at this lead. It's Messi.
Oh my god, why is that not opening?
Messi. Lovely feet. Chance to play it in.
What was I gonna do? Yeah. How would it look in full screen?
Lovely bit of skill.
Okay, no problem. Okay, not a problem. Okay. This is crazy. Okay, thanks for
Especially when you're playing that left-hand side, he can swing in a tasty cross from the byliner.
It's Messi.
Why is it not opening on the? I was going actually. Oh, the quality is bad. quality is bad. The quality is bad. The quality. I've opened too many. What I'm doing? What am I doing? I should cut these because I'm going offline. I'll just hey. Thanks. Oh wait, Messi, wait. Please wait, Messi. Messi should have waited for me. I got some. Thanks for the luck, mate. I appreciate the luck. Purple haze. Why is it not? Yeah, now I'll see it. Look now. 10, 9, 8, 7. Now! Ah! Double fell. Did you see that? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ah! Next clip. Oh, brother, why would you do that? It's my page. And no good, and no good, and no good. And no good, mate. For me. Okay. Why is it going to one of the channels? Simply. I'm playing some shots of mine from my channel YT because I'm going offline. That's why stream is ending. My stream is ending, bro. It's ending. 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes of shorts. I'll enjoy it. Short break. Aww. I'm playing this on keyboard. This one. Yeah, I played it on keyboard, and it was good. Woo! Yeah. My controller was broke for a year, maybe the whole 2025, and then I recently got the new controller, Xbox original, second hand though, but it's like new, 60% discount, 65%, 70% discount. It's done. Next one. Antoine Griezmann.
Davis. Alaba. Gnabry. Hoists it forward. Thinking about that, I think they perfected that on the training ground.
They start the clock, yeah.
To get the ball from back to front, and they really commit forward in numbers too. It's all very well drilled.
I have 12 GB RAM. It's not the RAM issue, it's the graphics card issue. AMD graphics card driver issue. Because of Windows 10, they corrupted my PC because they want me to install Windows 11. That's why. Windows, Microsoft, I don't like this.
Davis. Alaba. Gnabry. Hoists it forward.
Nice, Griezmann. Great. Great timing.
Thinking about that, I think they perfected that on the training ground because it took them seconds. Yeah. It's Bellingham. Messi. There will be one. And he'll shoot it. And the ball's come loose here. It's come through and he's had a quick look inside. Oh, here's a chance.
Oh my god, I can't believe I scored that. Pure bleed. This color.
Stylish in the extreme. A delicious goal. It's almost poetry in motion, Peter, isn't it? The way he wraps his foot around the ball so effortlessly.
Cross career. It's not a solo, it's a blades, a long blades. Super blades.
It's Bellingham. Messi.
Nice try, Messi. Great try.
It's come through and he's had a quick look inside.
Double touch. Ah, ball roll. And blades. Super blades. What to do now? I can't flip. I don't know what to do.
It's almost poetry in motion, Peter, isn't it? The way he wraps his foot around the ball so effortlessly. Amazing.
Should I? Should I listen to the song?
Bellingham.
I don't want to go now.
Messi.
I don't know.
And he'll shoot it. And the ball's come loose here. It's come through and he's had a quick look inside.
Oh my god. How can I be impressed by my own goal again and again?
Well, Guardiola, Peter, is a fella who appeared on the scene after a meteoric rise on the international scene, but he really is.
Yeah.
Well, they would have been
Son
looking ahead to
Heung-min
produce the goods, and that was
magical
very kind
blitz
of him
hits
to
the pole and
oblige
in.
so early.
Son Heung-min does not need a blitz. He's inbuilt blitz.
Even some of the opposing.
King of football, Messi. I have this card.
Are you coming to the restaurant?
Forgive me for the lyrics, the song lyrics. I don't like this kind of lyrics. I mean, except I'm getting married, then I can sing those songs. But currently, I'm not getting married, so that's it. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 8 shots I have. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I should have thousands of reels, but I didn't have time to make that stuff on my PC, on my laptop. So I hope I'll see you again. Thanks for the watching and thanks for looking. I am going to end my stream. It's nice to see you guys. Even one of you. Yeah. It's really, really, really nice. But you should have checked some commands, some nice commands I put there. You should have checked it. No worries. See you later, alligator. See you later, Craginator. See you later, Terminator. I'll be back. Tudum, dum, tudum. I'll be back. Tudum, dum, tudum. Doo-doo-doo. 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 See you guys. Take care, all of you. Tomorrow I'll revise it and give the test, the quiz.